Well, I want you to take a moment and rate your experience with your children and their chores. Would you say, it's a great experience. My children always do their chores when asked. It's so easy. Or are you struggling with this? And what is your intention with this? You trying to teach them certain lifestyle skills, how to manage their space in your home and what they're responsible for? Or are you trying to get the added help you need to get your house cleaned up? What's your motive? Why do you want your children doing chores? For me, as a mom, I wanted my children to learn responsibility, to be responsible for a different function of maintaining our home on a weekly basis. And so I knew I had to organize a system that would allow them to operate independent of me, that I wasn't having to kind of dictate the chore responsibilities week to week. And that's when I came up with a chore board. A friend of mine at the time when our children were in grade school, we created these. We actually made them. I think I used to have a wood cutting business in my former life. You know, I've always been entrepreneurial, and I'm pretty sure I cut this out with a bandsaw. Can't you see me doing that? And painted it, and this is the Tuttle chore board. And it was interesting how this became the go-to when the kids would complain about their chore. This is the place you didn't want to land. It was dishes, because that was like, you've got right here, we have set table, meals, dishes, load dishwasher. No, unload. Okay, we got, that's, dishes are loading dishwasher, unload dishwasher, vacuum, laundry, dust, and garbage. So dishes seem to be the heaviest of the grouping, but you knew you only rotated through here, because we've got, at the time we had 4 children, and these are their 4 names: Jenny, Chris, Ann, and Mark. And when they would make any complaints about their weekly chore, I would say, well, work it out with the chore board. You know, I would remove myself. This was agreed upon system. They knew this is what kept things organized. They would often swap too. They would make deals with each other. Hey, can I, as they got older, and I'd let them figure all that out, you know, and they'd come here and let's say Ann and Mark made a deal and they'd switch out, but they would switch the little magnets. These are little magnets. So it's easy to make a chore board. You don't even have to get this fancy, but we did hang it in the kitchen. So what's your system to remove yourself so the chore, it operates as a system with your children that just maintains continuity, it's obvious, it's clear, they know what's expected. Now, if they don't do their chore, that's something that you can agree upon as a family with your children, have a parent, have a whole family meeting and say, all right, what's the agreed upon side, the consequence if you don't do your chore for the week? And you can decide what that is in your family. My kids were pretty good at it. I don't remember that it was an issue. They seemed to just get the job done. And maybe you have a reward system too. That's another way to motivate children, is if everybody does their chore, then the family gets to experience something together when it's running without complaint and effortless. So you kind of want the no complaint chore system, because kids can do their chores and be complaining. So what have you done to support your children in having a complaint-free experience with chores? Because that could be another level of reward. If everybody does their chore this week and there are no complaints, we're going to do this as a family. It can be real simple. Go get an ice cream. Go, you know, just have something, a special dessert after dinner. You can make them simple rewards so that they don't require more of you, because you're busy. You don't need to create more things to do. So just something with what you're already doing that just makes it special. Now, when it comes, you'll see that it doesn't have anything to do with their rooms. Even with this chore board, early in my children's lives, I did hire a house cleaner. I've had a house cleaner since my children were in grade school. They grew up with a house cleaner. I think I started with twice a month and I went to weekly. I have a very high standard that I want my home. I like it very clean and neat. And I realized early on that I was trying to get my kids to do their chores so that the space would be created to my preference. And I recognized that wasn't healthy. I can't expect my children to maintain a level of cleanliness that was my preference. It's a working, operating home. There's There's mutual areas, family areas that are just, things are moving, things are out. But I wanted to make sure my kitchen floor was a certain level of cleanliness on a weekly basis. There was dusting, and I didn't particularly want to do it. I had other things I wanted to do. And I didn't want to put that demand on my children. So notice if you're doing that, that's unhealthy. Now, when it came to their rooms, I kept more and more would turn that over to them. They had to decide the level of cleanliness that was reasonable, that didn't have to be mine. And I learned to shut doors because my tendency was to want to go in and clean it up because I'm a very visual person. I like to see things nice and clean. You know, I like to create beauty, help things become more beautiful, bring the beauty out in space and people. And so I would shut doors. And then as they grew into junior high and high school, they knew that if their room was picked up and organized, our cleaning help, our house cleaners would go in and take it to another level. And the house cleaners knew if it wasn't orderly enough, they weren't to go in. And our kids wouldn't get the benefit of that service. So they were motivated by that because they wanted to come home to a cleaner room. And they had to prep to receive that benefit, which I was glad to support them with that because it motivated them on a real base level. So these have been systems that have helped us. Another one, we had a practice of having a family activity every week, and we made one for that. It's a very common practice for people to want to have a weekly family experience, and so I don't have the magnets for this one. But we had the experience of games, treats. We'd have a family prayer together. We'd read from our scriptures. We might have a little bit of a musical experience or a spiritual thought or a lesson, and that kept everybody involved in that practice on a weekly basis, and that was always very unifying to our family to create family unity. And yours could look very different than this. Maybe it's a monthly. Maybe it's bi-monthly, twice a month. What works for your family? Do you want to have that predictable family activity? How do you create that to have the whole family involved so your children are helping execute that and being responsible for aspects of it? So use these tips to create that more ease with chores. My last tip is, how do you talk about your children and their experience with chores? Do you get together with other moms and say, oh, my kids never do their chores, and blah, blah, blah. Are you talking about how it's a problem, it's stressful, it's not working? Well, if you are, you're flowing energy to that and creating more of what you don't want. So be the mom that talks about how great it's going. How much better could it get? How much more willing could my children be when it comes to chores? Open the space, because notice when you talk in the don't wants and the negatives, the energy closes. When you talk in the possibilities and how great everything's going and what you appreciate, the energy opens and you create more of what you desire. So keep noticing the energy of the space of your family and your home, and you can change it. Share your tips. How have you created these wonderful positive experiences with chores and family activities? Thanks for sharing your great ideas.